Welcome back to the Sioux City Show. My name is Taylor Grote. I'm hosting this thing. In the studio with me today, I have Ryan Martinez. Ryan Martinez is hosting and putting together the Siouxland Coffee Festival. It's the second year running, and we're going to hear from him about how that all works. What's it like?
Yo, hey Taylor, how's it going?
Oh, it's going.
Appreciate you having me on the Sioux City Show. Obviously, with the Siouxland Coffee Festival being in Sioux City, a huge part of it was I was motivated to make an event to have people come to Sioux City. So I think it was a pretty good fit for a little bit of an interview today.
So with the Siouxland Coffee Festival, what was the motivation behind, even starting a festival for people to come to? Why do you need to have something that people are coming to, I guess?
Yeah, well, it kind of just gets back to like how I got to where I'm at. I was super involved in the community, and I like bringing people together, just like to create conversations and, to be able to kind of expand my network. And throughout that, I just got pretty decent at event planning, organization, and just getting all the ins and the outs. And it kind of really made me want to support the community that was supporting me. And so I've been really passionate about creating events in Sioux City that, you might hear about in Sioux Falls, Omaha, Kansas City, these bigger cities. Why can't we do that stuff here in Sioux City? So, being able to create something that everybody loves. So everybody loves coffee, right? Or the majority of people, 99.9% of people love coffee. So putting on an event that highlights something that everybody loves, I thought would be a great way to draw in people from outside the area.
Absolutely. So what can people expect at the coffee festival? And go ahead and pull that mic just over in front of you. Yeah, just all.
There we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of everything, honestly. Main thing, obviously, people are coming for the coffee samples. They want to be sampling from different vendors, being able to try new coffees if they've never tried certain types. So we got about like 25 different vendors there that you'll be able to try different samples from. Sit back, enjoy some live music. We got some local musicians that are going to be playing there throughout the hours. We got a latte art competition, so we set up like a huge stage, and we let the baristas go at it, and we have this competition that all the attendees can enjoy and watch, and while they're still enjoying their coffee. We have roasting this year, so you can actually roast with a roaster from Stone Brew. They'll be doing a demonstration about all that stuff. Homebrew methods is another big one. We're trying to educate people on how to create good coffee at home, so you don't have to just get it at the shop. Everybody goes to the shop every once in a while, and they get this great coffee, but how can you make that in your own home and bring that to your house? And then there's another really cool component that we're really looking forward to, which is shop terminology. So like if you go to the coffee shop, the menu can be very intimidating. So I know I'd personally never got away from my favorite coffee drinks until a little bit later on, until I started exploring and trying new things. And when I was trying new things, that's when I kind of found my favorite coffees. So kind of deciphering what some of those things on the menu are, and then being able to introduce them to people in a non-intimidating way.
Absolutely. So I guess what's your personal favorite part? And while we're up front on the episode, what day is the coffee festival happening?
Yes, November 2nd at the Sioux City Convention Center from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So that's where it's at.
What's your favorite part? What do you look forward to happening?
Well, I guess my favorite part from last year, just the turnout was great. We didn't know what to expect being a first-year event. Planning events, it's really hard to plan when you don't know how many people are coming, right? Because you got to be able to tell the vendors their expectations, be able to tell make sure the attendees can get a quality experience, and make sure that coffee's not running out and like things are limited. So seeing the attendance last year, that was really great. But also hearing that people were traveling from like Lincoln, Sioux Falls, Omaha to come to Sioux City when that was like one of the initial goals, that was really rewarding. But I guess going into the second year, I think it's just really continuing to grow the awareness, because this year we actually have, I think it's like 9 or 10 different states participating. So people are flying into this event from Florida, California, Washington State, Indiana, and then, people driving from all over the tri-state area, Nebraska, South Dakota, South Dakota. Yeah.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. So people from Minneapolis, like I said, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but it's really cool to see when people notice what we're doing here and they want to be a part of it.
Absolutely. I went last year, and it was a pretty dope time. It was like, I never want to raise my expectations too much when I go to local things, because then more often than not, I'm kind of set up for disappointment. But last year, your event was pretty crazy, pretty well attended. I believe I was pretty hungover when I was there, so I don't know if I stayed the full time, but when I was there, it was nice to have a cup of coffee, listen to some of the live music. Speaking of which, who is the live music going to be provided by this year?
Yes, one of the main ones. We have two of them, but we've only released one of them, which is Ghost Cat. So we'll have a few of the guys from Ghost Cat there just performing semi-acoustically, just a very coffee shop vibe and enjoying that. But yeah, a cup of coffee can definitely help cure that hangover if you've been out on the Friday night.
Definitely. And it came in clutch last year. Yeah. So how about like what can people expect from, you hear like a latte art competition? Yeah. What is a latte art competition?
That's a great question. So basically there's this stage that we'll have set up that will have an espresso machine on there where two baristas will go head to head where they're pouring, there'll be shots poured for them, and then they will pour the milk or milk alternative into that shot and create designs with it. Mm-hmm. And they're competing with a criteria of thickness, line clarity, creativity. There's a bunch of categories that kind of go into it and that they'll be judged on, and they're competing to be the best of the best, have the best design, and make it onto the bracket. Because latte art is a growing trend. I've been traveling to prepare for this event, so going to other coffee events like Coffee Fest, like National Coffee Fest and stuff like that. This thing it gets huge and it's so entertaining to watch. You just see it's literally like someone kind of. It's food and drink, right? But it's also it's a form of creativity. This is a way that these people are expressing their art, and the people who are doing it take a lot of pride in what they're doing and are really passionate about it. So it's a really energetic feeling, and you just get to sit back and enjoy and watch it on like a 20-foot stage.
Definitely, and I guess it's fun to talk about what's going on there and all the things that will be going on that day. But I think from what I know of your planning process and getting this all to happen, I've seen a lot of people in the community and different, companies and people individually kind of helping you put all of this together. And I know that Stone Brew is coming in as a pretty big sponsor this year. So what is it like planning this event from the back end, being somebody in Sioux City and, needing some helping hands along the way? Yeah,
it gets pretty crazy. So as you did say, Stone Brew is our presenting sponsor this year. So we shout out to Stone Brew for jumping on and wanting to support this event. They were a vendor last year, and they ended up turning into a sponsor this year after the participation. So that was great to see. But event planning in Sioux City, one of the hardest things is getting people to buy their tickets in advance. So as an event organizer, it's very hard to, like I said, plan to make sure the quality of the event is going to be top tier for every single attendee that steps to the door, because I have to communicate to vendors about how many people are going to be there so they can be prepared with the product. Because if we plan for 1,000 people and 2,000 show up, that could be a disaster. And that means 50% of the people who bought tickets could have a bad experience and not ever want to come back. And they just will, if they ever see anything about the Siouxland Coffee Festival again, they would never want to attend. So it's really finding a balance and just being very structured. But going back to why we started the festival, this is organized by myself and my partner at Volunteer Siouxland. So this is actually hosted or organized by us as a nonprofit. So Volunteer Siouxland is Siouxland's online volunteer center. So all the proceeds go back to Volunteer Siouxland, which is a huge benefit to keeping us up and running. And we already specialize in helping nonprofits connect to volunteers in the community. So we definitely lean on those volunteers on our own platform to help be a part of the event, make the event run. I mean, we're going to have anywhere between 20 to upwards of 40 volunteers making this thing happen. Yeah, so it wouldn't be possible without the people in the community wanting it to happen. And we're trying to truly make it something that people want to take pride in. They like it being in Sioux City. It's been really cool to also see like the young people involved in coffee. I shouldn't say young, but like college age, and they're interested in coffee, maybe even as a profession or as a career. They've just been wanting to get involved and help any way they can. So they've been reaching out to me, texting me, hey, can I do anything for you? Can I help? Because they're loving that this is happening here and highlighting them, because these people are already traveling to New York, to Denver, to Wisconsin. Like they're going all over to these other competitions and participating, competing, and they're just really appreciative of having it here in Sioux City. So I'm very appreciative of them wanting to help out, and it's been a really cool process.
Right. And you said that businesses have been really supportive of what you guys are doing and coming in as sponsors and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But I almost feel like there's a whole underlying benefit that businesses and specifically employers in Sioux City don't realize that they're getting from this, is that, I've been trying to attract the right person to come in and be a video editor here, but I kind of hit the stone wall because the pay is kind of the same as it would be in Omaha, Sioux Falls, Lincoln, Des Moines, any one of those. And potential clients or candidates who aren't from Sioux City look at Sioux City versus all of those other cities and say, well, I'd rather live in Des Moines, right? So it's tough for me to attract somebody here. And, it usually comes with, hey, how much more can you pay me than the company in Des Moines?
Right.
And I think that when we have local things going on, like the coffee festival and somewhere for, people who are in college, people who are fresh out of college, and something that makes Sioux City on the same level as those other surrounding big cities, it makes it a lot easier to attract good people to the city who aren't from here originally and come add to the culture, add to the community, and, keep building with everybody else here.
Yeah, and that's actually why we have two other local sponsors, Empirical and State Steel. So shout out Empirical and State Steel for supporting the event. But they also wanted to be a sponsor because that exact reason is they want events to be happening here on Saturday. So, families have something to do. It's not traveling out of town to go spend money outside of town. There's great things that you can do right here in Sioux City. And so I think it's just motivating people to, just go out and just try it. So I never envisioned myself throwing a coffee festival, 5 years ago, even 3 years ago. I didn't know that the next year I would be throwing a coffee festival. So you just never know where you're kind of going to go. But, we saw the opportunity and we just kind of capitalized on it.
Definitely. So when I guess the coffee festival is Volunteer Siouxland's kind of flagship fundraising opportunity for the year, right? Yeah. So what was the motivation to make it the coffee festival? Because we do have Steins and Vines in Sioux City, so that's been a successful event. So I guess, was that kind of like the model you looked at, or what was the whole motivation?
It all happened on accident.
Wow.
Literally on accident. So we were just getting started. I think we started Volunteer Siouxland back to January 2017. So January 2017, we started Volunteer Siouxland, and we were going through the process of onboarding nonprofits, telling them what we do, onboarding volunteers, letting them know that there's going to be volunteer opportunities in a centralized location. And so we were hosting trainings for the nonprofits. And so in order to train the nonprofits on the platform, we had to create fake needs, fake organizations, fake events. And one of the fake events that we used to train them was called, I think it was like Coffee Anonymous. It was just like a fake coffee event in Sioux City. And after we got done training them, we forgot to take it down then right after the training. And so, a few days later, we had people that were upwards of like 10 to 20 people RSVPing for this event. And, we didn't even have maybe 100 people on the platform then. So, when you're looking at those numbers and the ratio, it's like, okay, well, people just jumped out at this event and they saw interest in it. So, my partner and I sat down and we talked like, hey, is this an opportunity that we could capitalize on? And now we took a look around, and like I said, Stone Brew is one of them. We have Coffee and Nosh. Hardline Coffee was just emerging then. Pier Street Coffee Works. We have Scooter, Starbucks, Caribou. There's a coffee culture here in Sioux City, and so I really wanted to highlight the people that were doing those cool things. And we just kind of put it all together. We started making some calls, and we had enough buy-in, and we just ran with it.
Yeah, and you mentioned that there's a coffee culture here in Sioux City, and I've always kind of been blown away that it's not bigger, because you look at Seattle, right? And you say, why is Seattle like the birthplace of coffee culture, right? And everybody says, well, it's rainy and it's cold all the time. And I'm like, Sioux City is frigid and you don't want to leave the house 6 months a year. So how do we not have a vibrant coffee culture somewhere where you can go get a hot drink, all winter? But it's starting to emerge, and it's really making its way. But, tell me about you and how you got to the position right now, because you're, 24 years old?
26.
Oh, 26 years old. Not nearly as impressive as I thought. So you're 26 years old, but how are you in this position where you're planning one of the big flagship events for Sioux City, all year?
Yeah, it kind of just goes back to, I kind of got into it a little bit about like how I like my career path, and just like right out of college, I was doing a software company with one of my best friends from college, Sean Richardson. We were building apps or mobile apps, websites, all that stuff. But also as a part of that tech company, we were hosting a free event for the public. Where we would bring in 3 speakers from around the country. They would talk about entrepreneurship, community building, and technology. So we would literally fly these people in from Florida, New York, California. Literally,
remind me of the name. It was like
Base 3.
Okay, I knew it was something to do with mountains. I kept thinking Summit for some reason. Okay.
Yeah. So Sean was actually one of the co-founders of that event. Then I jumped on, I think like second or third year, and we took it and we made it into something that was great for the community, that could be a way to kind of get Flyover Technology's name out there. And we just ran with it, and we just hosted this really intimate event where we just went all out. We would decorate. We would, we were just young kids when this thing kind of started. We would go out in the community and talk to, potential sponsors. And, I think that's kind of where my event planning passion, I guess, or like bringing people to Sioux City for events kind of started, because that event was just so rewarding. At the end of the day, we would just go out after nice Base 3 and just kind of reflect on what we did and what we built. And it was a really good feeling. And so I just continued doing little events since then, multiple fundraisers, been a part of fundraisers that have raised, over $100,000. So, it got to the point where, why don't I just do something like this for my own self?
Yeah. And, I guess just being an entrepreneur in general, where did that come from? Even outside of the event and the event planning, I guess you're from Hayward,
Iowa.
So how does somebody from Hayward in Iowa go to college and then immediately jump into the world of entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think the entrepreneurial side of me kind of started at a very young age. I just don't know if it's like the way my brain works, but I can remember from a very young age that I would even like set up like a fake restaurant in my house, and like I would write on a piece of paper like a menu for my parents, and like I would charge them to eat their own food in their fridge. So it was like, so just like little things like that. I can remember doing like garage sales. I was always big into garage sales, like either doing them or like going and finding something like for a good price. So I think my mind has always been in that headspace, because I always enjoyed school too, but I always figured I could be spending my time on something that could have more value instead of memorizing a chemistry structure, something like that.
The garage sales thing sounds a lot more entrepreneurial to me than setting up the restaurant in your parents' kitchen that you charge them to eat your own food. Like, I'd be like, oh, this kid's destined for a great job in government. Perfect. This guy has government written all over him, charging his parents to eat their own food. Perfect.
Yep. That was, I pivoted since then.
Yeah, I like it. Bringing in the free market.
Yeah. But, just going into that, then I was in college, and I always knew that I would like to be my own boss. I didn't know at the time like what that would all entail. Like I didn't understand how to do my own taxes, like business taxes and write-offs, and renting space and everything like that. But it got to a point where I just said, why not? And I got involved with the right people. I joined the entrepreneurship group while I was at Morningside College. And I kind of just took these ideas I had, and instead of just talking about them or saying, oh, it'd be a really cool idea, or like a really cool app idea that could make $1 million, I just started working on it, and I just started building things. And there was a really fun project I did in college when I was getting into this entrepreneurial / startup space. I called it Startup Secret Santa. And so basically I created this online platform where people could submit who they were. So like, Taylor, you're great photo, video. So you could go onto the Startup Secret Santa platform and say, hey, I'm good at photo and video, but I need a piece of copy written. So like hundreds of these people from around the world, and I used Product Hunt to get the word out there. So that was kind of when Product Hunt was kind of new. But I would connect these people manually. There wasn't like an algorithm that just like put them together. I had to manually connect these people that had this service, but they were looking for this service, and I connected this network so that people were all helping each other out. Yeah. And so like it was one of the hardest projects I've ever done, because like I said, that manual labor of like connecting everybody within this Excel document was crazy. But that it was just a really cool thing to just do. And so the feeling you get when you put so much work into something that you've created on your own, and then it turns out successful, is just, you're on top of the world. You just want to do it bigger and better next time.
Right. And I've been a part of entrepreneurship clubs, and in college, at Iowa, they have an entrepreneurship certificate you can get, which honestly probably taught me the most, 6 classes or something like that. And that taught me far more than all of my other college combined. And I have a video production degree. So, but talking to entrepreneurship groups now that I've been in it for a few years is I always tell them, you always hear the cliche, like, there's a million failures before you get your success. And I think that it's almost the wrong way to look at it, because it implies that there was like a big grand ambition that came and a big grand idea and fully formed thing that happened before it failed, right? But I think that the true difference in between an entrepreneur and somebody who thinks that they maybe someday want to be an entrepreneur but that never does anything is just doing it.
Right.
Just go do it. And if your idea that you have fully fleshed out, you realize the next day isn't going to work for you, well, you did it. You figured out that it's not going to work. So go immediately find your next thing. Find your next thing. And then every day, go and try to further that thing. Even if your idea of being an entrepreneur, is music or, being an artist or whatever. The difference between somebody who is a multi-platinum musician and the difference between, somebody who could have been but never did anything is just that the person who's a multi-platinum selling musician got up every day and made music and pushed, and every part of his daily routine was towards making that happen. The difference between success and not being successful 99% of the time is just who was willing to put in the work every day to make the successful thing happen.
Gary Vee, I think, just says it all the time, dude. You can't fake the work.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing the work, you're not going to have anything to show. And I think there's nothing wrong too with people who just aren't afraid to like take the leap yet, because there's some people I think that are in situations where they would take the leap if they had a little bit more financial stability, or if it was a little bit more familiar with them. But it's, it can be kind of scary, right? But once you first take that leap, I think it's worth it, and you get this feeling of, I don't know, not a feeling of growth, but it's, once you start and try to do something once, it's way easier to do it the second time, the third time, and the fourth time. And I don't know. When people get afraid of failure, I think that's also can inhibit people too, is they don't want to be seen as a failure or be seen like, oh, they tried their best, but they came up short. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's, like you said, you just figure out what it was that went wrong, either adjust it or move on to the next thing. It's not like it's rocket science.
I guess I've never looked at somebody who had like a business idea that they closed it down a year later, because I'm like, oh, okay. So they figured out what was wrong with that business.
Right.
Now they know what to do correctly next time. Well, there's probably still going to be something wrong with the next one, but we'll see how it works out. Right.
Yeah.
And I like that you brought up the Gary Vee thing, because it's like, I really agree with his big point of, don't complain about your situation. The difference between where you're at and where you want to go is always work and sacrifice. Unless you have truly a situation in which like there's, health, that kind of stuff, the non-predictors. But if it's a matter of time, sleep a little less for a year. I think that most people who have built something that they're super stoked about, that is making them get to where they want to be in life, sacrifice some sleep to get there, right?
Yeah, well, it's easier than ever to do anything you want right now. Literally, the way that I'm finding all the coffee shops and the roasters and the people to be a part of this event, I'm going online, all their information's right there. I can look up any single coffee shop in the entire world right now, call them up. Hey, we're doing this. Is this of any interest to you? No? Okay. Hi, I'm Ryan. I'm doing this. Are you interested? Oh, you are? Okay. Well, here's some more information. Let's get you signed up. So, I mean, it's just, again, putting in the work of like calling 100 people, getting 99 no's, and taking that one yes, and still seeing it as a win.
And here's another point. If you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, well, that's great for him, but I don't really know how to use computers that well. I don't know how to get on Facebook and find who I need to be looking for. I don't know how to like Google people and get in contact with them. Figure it out. Yeah. There's nobody. I don't know if you ever took a class that says how to make shit happen on the internet, but I definitely never took that class. It was me doing it from 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. to midnight for 3 years straight, trying to figure out how to make Honeywave Media really pop off. So,
yeah, I think my entire like creative digitally creative background kind of stemmed from a bootleg version of Photoshop. I was like high school, maybe it was high school. I wasn't middle school, and I had found out how to get Photoshop in a not so okay way. But I did it, and I just taught myself. And that was before the days of like YouTube tutorials, where nowadays you can literally learn how to be a professional editor if you just sit down on YouTube and watch 20 hours.
Thank you.
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, but you know, I would just learn and figure out what each of the tools did on the sidebar, and I would just keep playing with it. I would make it fun. I would make pictures of like my friends mashed up with like Dragon Ball Z characters, or like standing next to Taylor Swift. You know, I made it fun, and you know, that's kind of how I taught myself that, and got into the position where I wanted to continue down like some type of creative path.
Yeah. That's it's truly the time in history when if you want to do something, the only reason you're not doing it is because you are not doing it, right? Unless I don't know, you want to start up like a car dealership and you need some real money to be able to start a car dealership, I guess.
Some cash in hand.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, most things I really have no sympathy for. The amount of messages I get on my Facebook page that are from people I've never met asking me to put them on. Like, oh, do a music video for me for cheap or free because I'm going to be the best rapper in the world someday. Okay. Yeah. Well, how come I have to why am I the one who's sacrificing to do this? Why? Right. So I'm going to give you all my time for free, and I'm the one who's sacrificing when it's your big dream? Well, that's not how this is going to work, buddy. Right. You know, and I think that the amount of people who just don't realize that I think it's truly a scary thought for people to realize that it is very possible to live in a world where there are no gatekeepers. I've really kind of tuned everything I've done to, not have to ask anybody for permission or ask anybody to help me do something or put me on. And I think that most people are really comfortable living in a world in which they can point the finger at gatekeepers and say, well, the reason I'm not is because of that. Right? Because of that person. That's the reason that I can't get put on. Because I asked him to put me on and he said no. And It's like, well, you live in a world where you can do it all yourself, buddy. Yeah. And I think that it's truly a scary world for people to live in when they realize that they don't need a gatekeeper. Because it's kind of the same position that you're in, where you could be going to somebody asking for fundraising dollars, right? Instead, you created this entire event that is, quote unquote, a product that people derive value from. They can spend their Saturday getting out of the house, spend it with family, spend it meeting new people and learning new things about coffee, experiencing coffee in a way that they haven't before. And in return, they're giving the event money, and in return, that money from the event helps facilitate this entire volunteer culture in Siouxland that wouldn't happen if you were just going to somebody with your hands out, right?
Right. And I appreciate you bringing that component up, because that was part of the end goal of this event too, is to be a non-typical fundraiser. So we don't promote it as a fundraiser, right? But in essence, all the money is going back to Volunteer Siouxland. So it is a fundraiser, but we wanted to add that value so people feel invested, that they want to be a part of this because the product or service, because the event. But at the end of the day, they also know that they're helping a great cause that's helping Volunteer Siouxland run. Because at the end of the day, us at Volunteer Siouxland, we're trying to minimize the dollars that we're pulling from the donors in our community, because those dollars also affect everybody that we're trying to help. So we're trying to help every single nonprofit in Siouxland. So they all already have their hands out, looking for help because there's a million great causes in Siouxland, but we're trying to be one less handout in that donor pool to kind of, keep things circulating, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to connect people and, again, like you said, impact that the volunteerism culture in Siouxland.
Is there any are there any nonprofits, I guess, in Siouxland that you think that have really surprised you, that you think deserve a little bit more recognition than they've been getting? And by the way, here's an asterisk or a caveat, that it doesn't mean, if he says one here, it doesn't mean that any of the other nonprofits aren't great. It's just something that he thinks is really near and dear to his heart.
Yeah, that's tough, because like I said, we have 150 that we're serving right now. So I've seen a lot of them, so it's kind of tough to narrow it down, but a few that pop out to me.
You know what? This is most slept on in Sioux City. This is the most slept on in Sioux City segment for today. It's the nonprofit edition. Yes. Let's hear it from Ryan.
I got to point out Hospice of Siouxland, I think, just because I didn't know enough about them. I grew up and I had some family members that were going through the hospice ringer, but I didn't really know what that was growing up, I guess. And so getting to be involved with them and seeing what they're doing and how they're trying to expand their reach here in Sioux City, that's been really cool to see, how they can make people comfortable at the time you need it most. So that was pretty cool to see. But also, I guess from a different standpoint, the youth component to it, the Girls Inc. of Sioux City, we have offices located inside of the Girls Inc. of Sioux City. So I get to see the day in and day out of that organization, and the amount of effort that goes into making sure that every girl, either, let's say they enter here and this is like all their reading scores or math scores, or they measure everything. So when any girl that comes in gets like measured and see like where they're at on their education, and that's their baseline. And anytime they leave, like whether it's in the summer or through fall or spring, they're either maintain or they're above where they would have been. So it's really cool to see the intentionality put on that, and just to see who they serve. But like I said, there's also 148 other nonprofits out there that I could probably speak about their causes.
Well, I'm going to come in hot with my number one.
Let's hear it.
I think that Support Siouxland Soldiers is a crazy positive organization in Sioux City that I guess personally, when I was deployed to Kuwait and to Kandahar, Afghanistan, like we personally got multiple boxes delivered to us while we were deployed that was full of, everything from pillowcases to beef jerky that was from a local supplier that had donated all this beef jerky to Support Siouxland Soldiers. And it was one of those things that every time one of these boxes came in for everybody I was deployed with, everybody else in the unit was like, what is going on? How do you guys keep getting all these boxes? And it was truly something that Sarah Peterson makes happen. And
she's amazing.
Yeah. And it's crazy. And it's something that is like really, I guess when I was deployed, I felt like it was so Sioux City that it was like a support that we were getting that really was, it wasn't bullshit support. It was actually something that was like super nice and and something that we looked forward to, and that we were the only people out of, we had people from 15 other bases all deployed with us, and we were the only people who are continually getting the shit in. And I just cannot say enough great things about this organization, because it's truly like they make stuff happen for everybody who's deployed around Sioux City, and make sure that anybody from the local bases that are overseas serving are like getting the support from back home. So if you have a chance to check out Support Siouxland Soldiers, I would really love it if you take a chance to check them out. And I also want to make clear that there's this service called Smile, or Amazon Smile.
Smile.
To get there, you go to smile.amazon.com. And if you're already using Amazon, it is completely free, and it's the exact same service as Amazon. The only difference is when you're using smile.amazon.com, you can choose a charity that you would like. I think it's 0.5% of all of your purchases. They donate 0.5% of all of your purchases towards a charity of your choosing. And mine actually goes to Support Siouxland Soldiers. And I think last I checked that there's like, through no actual donation coming out of my pocket, I think $35 has gone.
It adds up.
Yeah.
You're just one person.
And it's like, I'm obviously buying stuff for like business and stuff like that. So it's a little bit higher than the average person is going to be. But yeah, it's the easiest way to like make a small contribution. And most people are using Amazon anyway. So take the 5 minutes and get your smile.amazon.com set up.
Pull it up right now.
Yeah.
Open a new tab.
Right now, damn
Control
it.
and.
Yeah, turn off this podcast and start smile.amazon.com.
But yeah, I kind of want to touch on that too, because Support Siouxland Soldiers, that's on my list of, again, one of the greatest nonprofits in Sioux City, because one of the things about that's similar with hospice and Support Siouxland Soldiers. Hospice has obviously a way bigger staff than Support Siouxland Soldiers, but the amount of volunteers that are invested into both of those organizations truly, I think, make it what it is, because hospice wouldn't be able to give the care they could do if it wasn't for the volunteers that are willing to go into these people's homes who are going through the hard time and make them comfortable. But with Support Siouxland Soldiers, they run events constantly. So if you're looking for another way to support them, they have so many volunteer opportunities, whether it's Waffles for Warriors or packaging. things to send out to the Siouxland troops who are deployed. I mean, they're always doing different events, and this is just Sarah Peterson. She's a lone person. She has a board, obviously,
and she also runs poppin' bottles and brushes, right?
Yeah, poppin' bottles and brushes, which you can paint with poppin' bottles and brushes, paint with coffee at the Siouxland Coffee Festival. So
bang, full circle,
boom, we brought it back. Yeah, but yeah, they're great over there, and I think when you have the community invested in the causes that are supporting other people in the community, that's going to be able to push the longevity of that organization, and then they're also going to see higher donors within that aren't just like organizations. They're getting people who are donating that are people like you and me. It's like, oh yeah, hey, I'll add them to my Smile.Amazon, or I'll give them $5 now, $10 now, or $100 a year, whatever it may be. So it's cool to see the community investment to making organizations like that run.
Yeah, and I guess also as when you're in your 20s, and younger people generally like look at charity. Charities as something like, oh, that's what I'll do when I get older, and when I can write a $50 check. But it doesn't have to be $50 checks that you're giving to these things. And when you are giving money to charity, like we all know about like the Red Cross? Yeah, and stuff like that, these big national organizations, or if people think about like a veterans charity, they go like, oh, I'm going to cut a check to Wounded Warriors, right? But these local charities that are doing things in Sioux City are really making a real impact for people who live in the city you live in, for the people who live down the street, or the people who grew up next door to you. Like those are the people that are getting the benefits of charities when you support a local charity. And generally, you always kind of hear horror stories about like, 93 cents of every dollar of this charity goes towards administrative fees or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But that isn't the case when it's a local charity. It's more often than not, 99 cents of every dollar is going towards, the actual cause that you're trying to donate to. So if and when possible, it doesn't have to be a huge check, but just cut off a little something. Even if it's volunteering, that's a huge benefit too.
Even if it's just like things where you're supporting events, whether it's fundraisers, like the Symphony has the Haunted Orpheum, that's one example. Camp High Hopes has like the Haunted Lodge coming up. Those are all ways that you can support these nonprofits while still being engaged with them, and you're supporting them, but you're also getting, to go to an event at the same time. So look out for things like that. And there's multiple ways you can support.
And I'm a huge advocate of when you're able to, when these charities, especially local ones, have the option to have like a recurring monthly donation. I'm a big fan of a $2 recurring monthly donation, because it's not much, right? But at the end of the year, you donated $24, and it was never more than anything in the gas station cost you. So if you go into the gas station once a month, you're already spending $2 a month, right? On bullshit. But you can have that $2 actually go to something good. Shout out to my $3 a month donation to the Wikimedia Foundation, because I felt like I owed them for my college degree. So
for sure. Yeah, no, it's really cool to just see like how people support what they support. Because I mean, let's say your $24 goes, it's a wiki, but most nonprofits that you're going to be able to support or go to events, like you can literally, you see the people that you're supporting and like what they're doing. You can, they have a physical address. You could go see what the operation's like. If you ever have any doubts,
director of the program.
You can literally talk to the executive director, have a conversation. And we live in Sioux City, where it's we're not a small town, but we're definitely small enough where we can approach other professionals. And if you wanted to get more information or talk to someone like that, you can. It's definitely attainable.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like we've covered a lot of bases here. Is there anything left that you were hoping to talk about today?
Well, shout out to Honeywave Media. I mean, I don't think we've mentioned that.
Donate to me.
Yeah, donate to that Honeywave's been doing all the promos. Well, the majority of the promos, if you see any video that's been posted, that's been between Honeywave Media. We got Taylor Grote and Devin Faley that have been killing
Best
it.
Gang.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Devin, is he back there?
Yeah, Devin's back there typing away, probably editing more videos for the coffee festival.
I know he's been great to work with, and all that stuff helps. Like, we talked about it before, where people reach out to you and keep asking for help. I remember the first time I reached out to you, it was more like, hey, Taylor, I like what you're doing. I'm doing something else that I'd like to talk to you about. Do you ever want to like sit down and just kind of see if it would ever be a good fit?
Yeah, you honey dick me.
Yeah, so I remember that conversation happened at Pier Street Coffee Works again, and since then I think I also hired you to shoot my wedding. So you recorded the wedding video.
Oh, we're good then. We're straight.
Yeah, you guys were. I think again, I want to credit you guys to the promos for last year because you guys used you last year, and I think that was a huge reason why we got the attendance last year, and which is why we continued to use you again as this year. And you guys also were brought on as a sponsor. So definitely appreciate all the work you guys are doing over here. And just full disclosure, I also am kind of involved with Honeywave a little bit. I've been helping you guys out. We're kind of reaching out to some more clients. And
Oh yeah. Ryan's here. He's our Honeywave Media is a 2.5-man team, and Ryan's the half.
I'm half of a whole person.
Yeah, buddy.
But yeah, I just want to encourage anybody else out there that made it through all this way. That if you're interested in ever doing anything, whether it's an event, whether it's a product, whether it's a concept, just try it, put it out there. Like, we need more people to do that because that's how things happen. That's how cities grow. It's how the next product, the next event gets invented. And if you're listening to this, like Taylor and I did it, and if we can do it, you guys can do it wherever you guys are at. But
I'm a certified dipshit. So if you have made it this far, go ahead and the comments of whatever you're on, if it's Facebook, if it's YouTube, if you're on iTunes, listening on podcast, just leave a review, 5 stars preferably, and don't leave any constructive criticism because I will not listen to it. But in the YouTube comments or Facebook comments, write in there what you think people can be doing to help out local causes that you know of and things that are near and dear to your heart, because we want to be able to spread awareness for everything going on in Sioux City and all the people that could use this help as much as possible. So go ahead and drop that in the comments.
Yeah, and things that they're already doing. So if you're already doing something cool and you want to tell somebody about it, throw it down there, or like a cause you're supporting. Yeah, let us know so to get that exposure. Because if we don't know about it, how is anyone else supposed to know about it? So
absolutely.
Boom.
And Ryan, where can people, let's give them the date and where they can find out more information.
Yes, Sioux City Convention Center on November 2nd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. You can get tickets right now at siouxlandcoffee.com, or you can go over to our Facebook page at Siouxland Coffee. Click on the event there. You can actually buy tickets directly from Facebook too. So that's huge this year. But I highly encourage you to get your tickets in advance, because that means that you can just show up. You can go into the expedited line. You don't have to wait in line to get into the event. You can just hop right in. But again, Sioux City Convention Center, November 2nd, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. See you there.
And it's SiouxlandCoffeeFestival.com?
The SiouxlandCoffee.com.
Oh, SiouxlandCoffee.com. And for me, you can check out all the stuff that we're doing on HoneywaveMedia.com. All the social media, we're Honeywave Media. And on Instagram and Twitter, you can check me out at TGroteX. That's TGROTEX. And that's all I got for today. So until next time, thank you.